I never liked the Beatles. I never really liked any British group. I don't think the British should play rock and roll.
When you think of Sir Paul McCartney, images of the lovable Beatle with boyish charm and melodic genius often come to mind. But behind that winning smile and knighthood lies a man who has managed to ruffle quite a few feathers in the music industry over his 6-decade career. While publicly maintaining his diplomatic persona, McCartney has been involved in some of rock's most heated feuds and bitter rivalries. Paul can be absolutely ruthless when he wants to be, allegedly revealed former Wings drummer Denny Seiwell. The nice guy image? That's real, but it's not the whole story.
You know, that he's got himself a good niche. Because I knew Paul would be all right. What the hell? I'm worried about him. You know, I know he's going to be all right.
From scathing comments about his music to backstage confrontations that nearly turned physical, these musical clashes reveal a side of McCartney that casual fans rarely glimpse. Today, we're counting down 5 musicians who absolutely couldn't stand Paul McCartney. And trust me, number 1 will completely shock you. Figure 6, Freddie Mercury. Kicking off our countdown at number 6 is Queen's flamboyant frontman Freddie Mercury. This musical clash wasn't just about differing styles, it was a battle between two of rock's most theatrical showmen. The animosity reportedly began in 1976 when both Queen and Wings were recording albums at London's AIR studios. According to studio engineer Mike Stone, the tension was immediate. Freddie thought Paul's music was becoming too safe and middle of the road, Stone allegedly revealed. He'd mockingly sing silly love songs in the hallway whenever McCartney was within earshot. The rivalry intensified during the 1977 Brit Awards, when Freddie allegedly refused to sit at the same table as McCartney, reportedly telling Queen manager John Reid, "I won't spend an evening watching him collect awards for that lightweight airplane music he calls rock and roll." According to witnesses, when Paul won for Band on the Run, Mercury's eye roll was visible from across the venue. What truly ignited the feud was Mercury's scorching comment in a 1978 Melody Maker interview. "McCartney's forgotten what rock music is about," Freddie reportedly stated. "While he's singing about paperback writers, we're creating modern operatic masterpieces. There's a universe of difference." The tension reached its peak during Live Aid in 1985. According to backstage crew members, when Paul was planning to close the show with Let It Be, Mercury fought for Queen's position, allegedly telling organizers, "No one follows Queen," resulting in a scheduling change. Queen's performance became legendary while McCartney suffered technical difficulties, leading Freddie to reportedly tell bandmate Roger Taylor, "That's the difference between pioneers and followers." Ironically, both men shared similar theatrical instincts and classical influences, but their approaches couldn't have been more different. Mercury's operatic grandeur versus McCartney's melodic craftsmanship, creating a rivalry between two artists who might have been natural collaborators in another universe. 5. Yoko Ono. Starting our countdown at number 5 is the avant-garde artist and widow of John Lennon, Yoko Ono. While their frosty relationship is legendary, few realize just how deep this musical animosity actually ran. The tension reportedly began during the Beatles' final years, with Paul resenting Yoko's constant presence in the studio. "Every time I looked up from my bass, there she was, sitting on the amplifier staring at me," McCartney allegedly complained to roadie Mal Evans. According to Beatles insider Peter Brown, Paul once stormed out of a recording session after Yoko began offering unsolicited suggestions on his bass playing. The relationship deteriorated further after the Beatles' breakup, with Paul filing the lawsuit that officially dissolved the band, a move Yoko reportedly called an act of ultimate betrayal in private conversations. The feud reached its peak in 1971 when John released How Do You Sleep?, a scathing attack on McCartney with lines like, "The only thing you done was yesterday," that Yoko allegedly helped write. Even decades later, the tension remained. In a rare, unguarded moment during a 2006 private event, Yoko reportedly told music journalist David Sheff that McCartney was always about Paul, even when he's pretending it's about someone else. Meanwhile, Paul allegedly confided to friends that working with Yoko was like trying to create art with someone who deliberately speaks a different language. Despite public reconciliation attempts over the years, music industry insiders claim the relationship never truly thawed. revealing how personal conflicts can permanently alter the trajectory of musical history. Number 4 is experimental rock genius Frank Zappa, whose intellectual approach to music represented the antithesis of McCartney's melodic simplicity. This wasn't just a clash of musical styles. It was a fundamental disagreement about what rock music should be. The animosity reportedly began in 1967 when Zappa released "We're Only in It for the Money," with album artwork parodying Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. According to Zappa's autobiography, when they finally met backstage at the Miami Pop Festival in 1968, Paul was visibly cold, allegedly muttering, "I don't appreciate being mocked by musical circus acts." Zappa reportedly escalated the feud in a 1971 interview, where he allegedly stated, "McCartney wouldn't know genuine musical innovation if it bit him on his commercial behind. He's found a formula and he's milking it to death." These comments allegedly infuriated Paul, who later reportedly told Rolling Stone that Zappa was deliberately obscure to hide his lack of melody. The tension came to a head in 1975 when both performed on the same television special. According to production staff, Paul requested separate dressing rooms and filming schedules to avoid Zappa entirely. One crew member allegedly overheard McCartney say, "I respect his technical ability, but his music sounds like someone dropped a symphony orchestra down a flight of stairs." Zappa, never one to back down, reportedly responded by telling his band members, "McCartney thinks 3 chords and a catchy chorus equals musical genius. This is why popular music is in the sorry state it's in." This feud reveals the deep philosophical divide between commercial accessibility and experimental artistry that defined much of rock's evolution, with these two giants representing opposite ends of the spectrum. 3. Keith Richards. Rolling in at number 3 is the Rolling Stones' human riff machine, Keith Richards. While the Beatles and Stones were often portrayed as friendly rivals, behind the scenes, Keith harbored genuine disdain for McCartney's musical approach and public persona. "Paul is a great songwriter, but a schoolteacher disguised as a rocker," Richards allegedly told a British music magazine in 1970. "Everything's so bloody proper and precise. Rock should have some dirt under its fingernails." According to Stones insider Spanish Tony Sanchez, Keith would routinely mock Paul's granny music during recording sessions, specifically singling out songs like "Martha, My Dear" and "When I'm 64. The animosity intensified in 1967 when the Stones released their Satanic Majesty's Request, widely viewed as their attempt to match Sgt. Pepper. When it received mixed reviews, Keith reportedly blamed McCartney directly, telling friends, "Paul tricked us into playing his game, and we fell for it. Never again." Perhaps most revealing was a heated backstage encounter at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1988. According to witnesses, when Paul attempted to compliment Keith's performance, Richards allegedly replied, "Save your pleasantries for your press conferences, mate. At least Lennon had some edge to him." The conflict represented rock's central tension between McCartney's melodic craftsmanship and Richards' raw authenticity. In a rare, unguarded moment during a 2003 documentary, Keith reportedly summarized his feelings. "Paul plays at being a rocker. Some of us actually are rockers. That's the difference." Despite the personal friction, both musicians publicly maintained the facade of respect, demonstrating how rock's biggest personalities often save their true feelings for behind closed doors. 2. John Lennon. In a shocking twist that casual fans might find hard to believe, at number 2 is Paul's own bandmate and songwriting partner, John Lennon. While their creative partnership changed music forever, their personal relationship deteriorated into one of rock's most bitter feuds. The tension reportedly began during the Beatles' final years, with Paul taking control after manager Brian Epstein's death. "Paul was playing daddy, and I'm not having it," John allegedly told roadie Mal Evans. According to Beatles engineer Jeff Emmerich, recording sessions became battlegrounds, with John dismissing Paul's songs as granny music, while Paul criticized John's experimental directions as self-indulgent noise. The animosity exploded after the breakup, with John releasing the scathing "How Do You Sleep?" containing lyrics like "Those freaks was right when they said you was dead," and "The sound you make is music to my ears." In a devastating 1971 Rolling Stone interview, Lennon reportedly said, "Paul's productions are the worst. Maxwell's Silver Hammer was so bad I left the studio." Even more revealing were private comments John allegedly made to producer Jack Douglas during the Double Fantasy sessions in 1980, just weeks before his death. Paul writes sweet little songs about holding hands. I write about ripping my heart open and showing it to the world. We were bound to clash eventually. What makes this feud particularly tragic is that they were reportedly beginning to reconcile before John's murder. According to May Pang, John's girlfriend during his Lost Weekend period, John had confided, "Despite everything, nobody understands me like Paul does. Sometimes I think nobody else ever will." This relationship reveals how the most powerful creative partnerships often contain the seeds of their own destruction, with the very differences that create magic eventually pulling them apart. Number 1. Elvis Costello. And finally, in our number 1 spot is the surprising choice of new wave punk poet Elvis Costello. What makes this musical animosity so shocking is that it eventually transformed into one of rock's most unexpected collaborations. The hostility reportedly began in 1977 when Costello burst onto the scene as punk's literary voice, positioning himself as the anti-McCartney. "Paul McCartney represents everything we're fighting against," Costello allegedly told NME. "Comfortable millionaires singing about silly love songs while the country falls apart." According to music journalist Nick Kent, Costello would routinely end early performances with a deliberately mangled version of Let It Be, meant to mock Paul's sentimentality. The tension reached its peak in 1979 at a charity concert where both performed. Backstage, Costello allegedly refused to be photographed with McCartney, telling organizers, "I don't want to be in the same frame as yesterday's news." According to witnesses, Paul overheard the comment and was visibly hurt, allegedly telling his wife, Linda, "The kid's got talent, but he's got a lot to learn about respect." What makes this feud fascinating is its unexpected resolution. In 1987, McCartney, seeking to revitalize his career, reached out to Costello as a potential collaborator. Their initial writing session was reportedly ice cold, with Costello allegedly challenging everything Paul suggested. He was deliberately difficult, a studio engineer reportedly recalled. It seemed like he wanted Paul to prove himself. The tension proved creatively explosive, resulting in songs like My Brave Face and That Day Is Done, that critics hailed as McCartney's strongest work in years. During this period, Costello allegedly confessed to producer Mitchell Froom, "I spent years hating him for being Paul McCartney. Turns out that's exactly why I should have respected him." This relationship reveals how artistic antagonism can sometimes evolve into mutual respect, proving that in music, as in life, our strongest critics can become our most valuable collaborators. From Yoko's studio interventions to Costello's punk rebellion, these 5 musical feuds reveal a side of Paul McCartney that his carefully crafted public image often conceals. Whether fighting for creative control or defending his musical legacy, Paul proved he wasn't always the cheerful Beatle of popular imagination. Which musical rivalry surprised you most? Comment below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.